I was just saying that it's time for me to make some friends.
Hello there. This is Drew here with my not
Friendless
friend,
sister.
Ashley, little sister. I mean, in some ways, that's a bond that's even stronger than friendship.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is going to be an emotional episode. We are saying goodbye to our favorite characters from White Lotus
Favorite
season
season
3.
ever.
Yeah. But before we do that, you are listening to New Release, a TV podcast. Ashley, where?
Where we watch something that we like and share it with the world and something rainbow. Make
There's
it magical.
one word that you have to get in there at a
Magic.
minimum. Special.
Special. Special magic.
Yeah, it's so much easier just to say where we make our favorite TV shows feel special, but somehow you
I'm never going to
can't,
remember it.
can't do it. Well, the good thing is we'll
I
probably
like making
change the
my own.
format. We'll change
Yeah.
the format before
I
you get
remember
it.
it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
This, I believe, is episode 251
Woo!
of New Release. Prime or not Prime?
Prime.
Prime. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had one for a while.
Unless it's divisible by 7.
Yeah, it's a 51, a prime number. It is.
Woo!
We did it.
Man, I'm on a roll. I'm unstoppable,
Yeah.
really. Till next week. Just kidding. Woo! Can you do that?
Woo, 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 woo. I try to do it a
That
lot.
sounded just like mine.
I know. Well, you did a good job, I thought. I was just mimicking you. I try to do it for Jamie all the time, and
Sure,
it
she
doesn't-
loves it.
Yeah. And then as we talked about in our first, this is going to be our third podcast on White Lotus season 3, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We found out in the first podcast and watching the first episode that they removed the signature
Yep.
animal noises from the show. And in a bit of breaking news that came out before the finale, Christabel is no longer going to be the composer on the show.
He quit.
He quit, yeah.
Is that because they were like, we don't want to use you have to remake it, and he's like, I don't really want to. And they
Kind
did, and
of.
yeah.
I think he wanted to use the sound that the signature sound, which
Makes sense.
yeah, but also apparently I think they were on different ends of the like esoteric creative spectrum. He said that Mike White, the director and writer of the show, wanted like artsy hotel jazz or something like generic, but like a dark version of it. And the way they describe the music in Severance is defiant jazz.
Okay.
But whatever Mike White wanted, it wasn't creatively interesting enough for the composer. So they're going their separate ways for season 4, assuming we get one.
Yeah. Man,
We
that
will
makes me-
definitely get one.
That bums me out because I really wanted season 4 to have the theme song back. But now it'll be completely different again.
Yep.
Huh. Okay.
So this podcast is the last time you'll ever hear it.
Play it again. I'm going to listen to it while I pick up River from daycare. Just over and over again.
Oh, well, it should just be playing over the kids colliding into each
Yeah.
other and doing whatever toddlers do.
It's kind of perfect music, actually.
Yeah. This season of White Lotus didn't feature any babies, but, obviously it features a lot of adults
Being
acting
babies.
childishly, immaturely, not growing, attempting to grow, and then finding themselves right back where they started, if not
Yep.
worse.
Yep.
So we're going to talk today about mostly the finale of White Lotus season 3. We've checked in twice, as I mentioned, once after the premiere and once like 3 episodes in.
Yeah.
So now it's been a while. So there were 8 episodes in this season. The finale was 90 minutes long. And before we jump into our discussion, I asked you on one of the previous podcasts to map,
The
your
trajectory.
interest level. And where were you at going into the finale?
I had to
All-time
stop
low?
myself pretty low. I had to, not all time. It went up a little tick because I just wanted to see who shot who and like what happened exactly. But still
Yeah.
pretty low in comparison to the other seasons where I was like, couldn't look away. This one was like, maybe I should do some laundry while I'm like, no, I need to pay attention. But I just didn't care as much, which is a bummer.
Yeah, it's obviously has the mystery hook. So, and we're not really going to get any answers until the finale, for better or worse. So it does maximize excitement for the finale because you're going to at least find out who the body or bodies are. And you're probably going to find out who, whether it was a monkey or whether it was a person or whether it was some wild
Should've
card
been.
third option. Yeah, a blender.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And then in previous episodes, we got like these fake outs with Tim Ratliff, the father of the Ratliff family, dream sequences where he killed himself, where he killed his family members.
Yeah.
Some pretty brutal imagery that turned out to just be dreams. So I was actually surprised going into the finale how excited I was to just learn to get resolution because I mean, on like the basic questions that I just outlined. I don't know how much we'll talk about whether we got resolution on the character journeys or not, but just on the murder plot, because this season started off in a different way, like with some kind of mass shooting event or shootout. And so I didn't know how the climax was going to play out from an action perspective.
Me neither. And I don't know what you want to talk about, but I was pretty disappointed that they didn't show Zion in the water at all. Like his discovery. I was like, why would they leave that out? Like that was like the cliffhanger from the first episode.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's jump in. I just wanted to check in with your hype meter going into it, but
pretty low, but probably the hypest because it's the last episode.
Okay. Nope. Here we go.
I love you. Please don't do something stupid.
I'm gonna be okay.
Have you seen Lori? No one has lived better than we have.
I love you so much.
Have a wonderful last day.
Now I want to watch it. Just kidding.
Yeah, that's a good trailer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where do you want to start with the few answers we did get in terms of who the killer is, who dies, yada yada?
I guess so.
Or do you want to just give your reaction to the season overall? I'm
Probably,
fine either way.
I guess reaction to the season overall. Still disappointed.
Yeah.
It was very disappointing. Man, I don't even know. I watched it and it finished and I was just like, huh. Like still didn't really care about the characters as much. And the other ones it was more comical. Like this one was darker. And then the people that died, I was like, it was just kind of like, I don't know. The second season when Jennifer Coolidge fell off the boat and she like killed herself was absurd, or like she accidentally fell and busted her head open. Like that was just like, oh, like shocking and kind of funny and like just ridiculous. The first one, the stabbing, he accidentally walked into the guy and he stabbed him by accident in the hotel room after he was going on like a crazy bender, like kind of funny also. Like, and this one was just brutal. Like it was sad. I cried a lot.
100% agree. I mean, that the tone changed and the characters that end up dying are more tragic figures in the sense that so I guess we'll just talk about who dies. Did you see this before I do that? Before we finally do that, did you see this killer coming?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, well, let's back up. I'll just keep stalling. Let's back up like 2 episodes or maybe 1 episode when Rick goes to Bangkok to confront the killer of his dad. People have been speculating. I don't know how plugged in you are to the White Lotus.
Not at all.
I figured. But it didn't take a rocket speculator scientist or a Reddit sleuth to figure out that maybe there was going to be a twist that he was actually his dad.
And I wish that twist didn't exist, to be honest.
Well, the way that they just tack it on at the end,
Yeah, it just
definitely
seemed
didn't need
not
to.
necessary. Yeah.
So Rick teams up with Sam Rockwell's character,
Who
Sam
I
Rockwell.
love. I love him so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I can't remember if did we record after the
Yes.
monologue?
Yes,
Okay.
we
Yeah.
did.
So we discussed that, but we didn't discuss kind of like their night out and their pretty poorly executed kind of staged meeting with the hotel owner's wife and the guy Jim Hollinger that Rick thinks killed his dad. And Rick just goes in, tricks him into kind of like talking alone, and then pushes him over in a chair.
Yeah.
And then they run out of there. And everyone's been criticizing this from a plot perspective, but it is fair to point out, like, and then he just goes back to the hotel and thinks there's not going to be any consequences. And
Well,
like,
and the woman or his wife knows obviously that they're staying at the hotel.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't, like, you would have left,
Yeah.
If he's one of the most like dangerous men, or was one of those dangerous men in Thailand, you'd think he would have gotten out of there. But
Yeah, and I think Rick and Chelsea were your favorite group, right? Your favorite characters.
And I knew Chelsea was going to die. I knew.
Okay, well, that's kind of what I was getting at. So
Yeah.
she was so likable
Yeah.
that just puts a big fat, bullseye over her head.
And in her heart.
Her heart in this case. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rick comes back. He's a changed man. He got his resolution, which was just like saying to the guy he thinks killed his dad that, you suck.
Yeah.
And then Jim Hollinger is he's not like ready to leave it at that, but he comes to the hotel, confronts Rick after Rick and Chelsea briefly have this kind of, sweet exchange over breakfast. And still Rick would be fine if he's going to leave Rick alone if he just leaves.
Yeah.
And
he can't let it go.
I don't know whether it's a flaw in my personality or I don't really connect with these characters. That should go without saying, but no, I don't really connect with movie characters that are just on like a mission for revenge or to get closure because of something that's happened in their childhood. Say exactly what Rick thinks did happen. Like Jim Hollinger killed his dad, and his dad was a saint, and this ruined his whole life. I mean, I've never been in that position, so
Right. We can't. Yeah.
but like, and it's not very relatable for most people, presumably.
No.
So like, would you think in his position you would have let it go by now, just naturally?
Yeah.
Would you need to confront the guy?
I mean, obviously not in that position. I don't think so. Like, I didn't really understand why you would fly across country or from wherever they were to find this guy, to hunt him down, to say, like, how could you do this to me? And the guy's, like, 80 years old. It's like, all right, well, I don't know. And
It's very anticlimactic when he does it.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was that believable, or I wasn't really I wasn't empathizing with him for why he wanted to do it in the first place. It's like, I have this long lost parent and I've never met them, and the whole movie is about like someone needing to meet their dad for the first time. Like, I just don't
see. I think my hitman theory would have been better from the very beginning. If he was like a
Yeah,
hired
I
hitman,
mean-
he just had to like kill him as part of his job. And Amy Lee Wood had no idea what his job was, and that was it. And that's why they're in all these different locations.
I mean, it definitely would have been better than Star Wars ripoff that's just like tacked on.
Yeah.
Like, so that was one of my biggest problems. Is two of the characters we're supposed to be rooting for. Like, we're not supposed to be rooting for a lot of characters on White Lotus, but they did kind of set us up to root for them as a couple, even though we get very little insight into why she cares about him.
They're soulmates.
They're soulmates. She says it. She gives an incredible performance. It's very believable. It's filmed, and
And when they meet on the beach and they hug, and I'm like, oh, I love them so much.
That's like one of the like only scenes we get in the entire 8-episode run.
Yeah.
And then her saying, "Are we going to be together forever?"
And he said, "That's
and
the plan."
him giving it like a thumbs up.
Yeah, and then her crying.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I guess they're married now, but like, and then definitely dead.
Yeah.
It seemed like the show was trending in the direction, like when we first meet Rick, he is treating her like shit and is not fun to be around and sucks. And then we get their day out at the snake.
Oh my God.
The snake show, and he still sucks and causes a huge disaster and nearly gets her killed the first time.
Yeah.
But like, at least we got a glimpse into him having an like emotional spark.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end, it just comes full circle back to him ruining her life.
Yeah.
And causing her to be shot in this final shootout sequence. And then they die beautifully together.
Oh yeah, that image was like a wallpaper.
Yeah.
With the lily pads. That's all I'll say about their death, because the rest of it I was like, ugh. But that was really beautifully shot.
Well, she's face down in the water. He's face up.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's yin and yang, and the show's not supposed to be uplifting, so I'm fine with a tragic ending.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like, in hindsight, we had any reason to root for them in the first place, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Like, it feels manipulative that they just give us just enough rope to hang ourselves by. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's just the thesis or the goal of the whole show.
Yeah, but I feel like it hasn't felt this way in the other episodes. Or the other seasons.
In the other seasons.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this season was a more extreme example of that. And no better way to illustrate that than the focus of the season being on the rat lifts, I would say.
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair? Like,
yes.
Are they the central
I was surprised.
figures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have the most screen time. There's the most, like, they have like that full moon party. They all separate. They come together. They have dinner. Almost every episode, they're like together at dinner. I feel like they spend the most time with them. And the three women who we can talk about later. We can talk about the rat lifts first.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. I think the three women will end on a positive note.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
Yeah.
The rat lifts, we knew that Tim had lost all their money. They're going to be poor now. And for the next, 5 episodes after that, it's just, will he do some combination of kill himself, kill some members of his family, leave some members of his family alive to,
live in
pick
poverty
up the pieces.
or whatever. Yeah.
Or will there be some fake out? And it was basically all of those things. But I mean, did you get any? Well, in other episodes too, like where he shows him shooting.
Well, yeah, but I meant out of the 3 or 4 things you just mentioned, they all happened in the last episode.
Yeah, my favorite part of the Ratliff family dynamic was Piper's kind of regression back to being a superficial rich girl.
Yeah,
I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. She's like, I thought I could do it, but I can't. And then goes to her mom buying her purses in the boutique.
Yeah. Parker Posey is the Jennifer Coolidge, analog in this season. She's doing a big, broad comedic performance, which is very funny.
I've read that that's really similar to a North Carolinian accent. From
Well, we grew up there, more or less.
Well, but not super rich, like that whole.
Well, yeah,
Toronto.
definitely not that rich.
Yeah, very different than our upbringing. But because I wasn't familiar with that accent, and that's why I was like, it's so bad, it was distracting. And then I read up that it was pretty accurate. I was like, oh, but you get used to it, and so over time, I didn't mind it as much. But at the beginning, it was really hard and distracting, I feel like. To watch.
And there's all these clips going around of of the cast members impersonating her.
Yeah,
and she is the most fun thing about the show for sure, although she's in the vortex of her husband, who is the least fun thing and the most
it's so stressful,
monotonous. I mean, yeah, it's stressful, but it's just he doesn't change any from episode, like whenever he starts taking the lorazepam.
Pills. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just in the same headspace for so long. I mean, it's weird. The show only takes place over the course of 8 days, but that's still a long time to not have the characters change any.
And I feel bad because I feel like I don't really know what else that guy is in. What's his name? The actor's name?
It's Jason Isaacs.
Because I just feel like
Yeah, Jason Isaacs.
he just wasn't given a lot to go with. And so he did like a great job at that character, but it was just the role was terrible. Like I just... Ugh.
Yeah, and I mean, we see Patrick Schwarzenegger's character.
He evolves a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Which is nice.
He gets a book from Amy Lou's character and reads it in one night. Basically, we get a little more behind the scenes of what Lachlan was thinking during the threesome.
I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah, quite literally. He was like, he's told his brother Saxon that it looked like he was left out.
Yeah.
So he didn't want him to feel left out.
Oh my gosh.
They finally acknowledge that they like fully remember what happened, which we know, and Saxon is just like can't deal with it, and Lachlan, and one of his more. This is why I think the show could have been adolescence in a sense. Like it could have all been building up to Lachlan being this tragic psychopathic like killer, the making of a mass shooter, because he watches the like disaster porn.
Right.
He is completely out of touch with the normal human reaction to basically every what his brother would think of him,
Yeah.
groping him.
Yeah.
And then what his sister would think of him just kind of wanting to
joining the monastery with her. And she's like, what?
Yeah, he calls it a people pleaser, but I just call it a sociopath that has no like sense of like
he's
real
no
human
bearings.
emotion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm glad it didn't go there, and it would have been. What do you think would have been the most interesting outcome for the Ratliff family? Because we obviously see several different dream sequences. We see. Why don't you just describe what Jason Isaacs attempts to do, and then what happens to Lachlan? Like this whole sequence.
Well, of course. Okay, let's see. At the beginning, he steals a gun, so he's thinking about shooting himself. He tries to, it doesn't work. Puts the gun back. The gun gets taken back from the security guard. Guy talk. And then he's like, oh, this fruit's really poisonous. I remember them talking about it. So he puts it in a blender, and you're like, oh, he's going to make himself a drink, and he's just going to die. But then he decides to make pina coladas for his entire family, minus Lachlan, because Lachlan said he can live without wealth.
Yeah.
So he's like, you can't drink it, you're not 21. And so he has the whole family start to drink these pina coladas. And then he regrets it, makes them all, dump them all out because he says the coconut milk's bad.
Yeah.
But he doesn't clean out the blender. So all the poison's still in the blender, which is so ridiculous.
Yep.
And then...
First he grinds up the seeds and just puts the blender under the, in the cabinet.
Yeah.
So Saxon could have easily gone in for his midday protein shake and he probably would have cleaned it like a normal person, but
probably. But then
he
Lachlan,
did just leave the poison out as well.
Yeah. So then
multiple
Lachlan was
times.
like, oh, I need to be a man and make a protein shake like my brother. And so he doesn't clean it out. He like smells it. Although they all smell the drink, it tastes weird, like something's off. And he's like, oh, I'm just going to make it and not clean it out. So it has all the poison in it.
Yep.
So he drinks a protein shake, and then he starts to die and sees God, which is like these 4 monks standing over him.
Beautiful sequence.
Which is, good sequence. And then he doesn't die. His dad finds him, thinks he's killed him. And then Lachlan comes back to life.
Yeah. So the dad doesn't. So what ends up happening is no one in the Ratliff family dies, and we only get a glimpse of them finding out what their new fate is because they get their phones back once they're leaving the island after the shootout, which apparently they don't even acknowledge.
Right.
How
big is this resort?
Yeah, who knows what the timeline is. apparently they're on the boat with the three blondes
Oh,
who
yeah.
were in the background of the shootout. Like they were there
Yeah.
for the shootout. So like somehow they're all able to just leave the island. Lachlan is fine, gonna be
Yeah.
fine. And so we get another fake out death. I don't want to be morbid and just kill everyone off for the hell of it, but like,
Yeah.
what do you think is the most interesting? Is this, I'm guessing Mike White's rationale for why this is the interesting outcome for them is now they have to deal with their actual living hell, which is
Yeah.
being poor, versus some kind of salvation or, you know, who knows what fate or what afterlife is in store for the person who kills his whole family. But the people who are killed, you know, maybe they could have either nothingness or a good afterlife versus a horrible existence of being poor.
Yeah.
But like, or if the show had actually followed through in its conviction and had the one person who's, for the reasons I described, maybe a disturbed youth,
Yeah.
but an innocent person, more or less. I kind of think Lachlan dying. I think that was one fake out too many.
I think that I also think what should have happened, or what I would have done, is had the whole family, because they all took like a sip of it, and that'd be poison enough, so they all just don't wake up. And then Lachlan, you're like, oh, Lachlan doesn't see them, he doesn't know what happens, and then he makes the protein shake, and then he also dies.
Yeah, this is like a palate cleanser, or I mean,
Because you're like, oh, like he's the only one that doesn't care about wealth, and then it's like, well, it gets him too. Like he's part of the family. But then they all survive, and they'll just be poor, and he'll be in jail. So, or
yeah, and we don't get to, and it's fine that we don't really need to see too much of them like freaking out on the boat or whatever. But maybe the reason that killing only Lachlan doesn't work that well is then not only did Jason Isaacs lose all their money and is probably going to jail anyway.
Yeah.
He also then committed, you know, murder or whatever legal framing there would be for accidental poisoning.
That's why they all should have died.
Yeah. I mean, they should have, if they had let them all drink it and then they all died, and that would have certainly ruined Lachlan's life.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what, it would have been. But then I thought in true White Lotus fashion that maybe that's what happens. Now Lachlan has to deal with his whole family being dead.
Yeah.
You know? Like extra
no,
dark.
I mean, I don't think that's true White Lotus fashion. Usually the bad characters survive.
Yeah, that's true.
And they have to live with the depressing reality more than the imagined, you know, possible, you know, satisfaction from an afterlife.
So then the dad goes to sleep, and then all of them decide to drink it while he's sleeping.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's that family.
Well, yeah, the Ratliff story did not pan out in a satisfying way.
No.
I did like Lachlan's sequence, you know, his death sequence that turned out not to be
His rebirth sequence.
Yeah. I mean, that was beautifully done. There's so much of the show that I thought that everything post when they go to the monastery and meet the monk was pretty intellectually satisfying. I mean, like the Buddhist elements that they incorporate into the show, they don't really influence the characters in a meaningful way, but they influence the audience.
Right.
Or they influenced me. But maybe except for one group. And I've got a little clip from Carrie Coon's monologue here.
So good.
Yeah.
I don't need religion or God to give my life meaning, because time gives it meaning. We started this life together. I mean, we're going through it apart, but we're still together, and I look at you guys and it feels meaningful. And I can't explain it, but even when we're just sitting around the pool talking about whatever and name shit, it still feels very fucking deep.
So good.
Yeah.
She
I wanted to
quickly
use like
became,
3
my
minutes of
favorite
that.
character. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Lori, played by Carrie Coon. And yeah, where did you think? What did you think about the journey that they went on?
Quite tumultuous.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I thought this was going to break them up forever, and I was like, man, like, can some groups stay together? Can something be cohesive? And then when they're all around the table sharing like how much they love each other, I was like just waiting for Carrie Coon to be like, "F you guys! Like,
Yeah.
I am not into this at all. Like, this, you guys are terrible." Blah blah blah. And then she gives this like award-winning speech, and it was incredible, and I cried.
Yep. We get some great monologues. Like Piper's
Yeah.
monologue was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I do want to talk about Zion's negotiation.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, yeah, I thought that this was the most surprising thing from an emotional payoff standpoint. Like that they would actually find a way to give them a satisfying conclusion
Yeah.
versus just they get torn in so many different directions, and right from the start they're catty with each other and they have all this baggage. And for Carrie Coon to acknowledge all the damage that's in you know, kind of internal strife that she's felt and find like a positive, hopeful spin on that is very touching.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was probably the best part of the whole show, the
Yeah.
whole season.
Yeah, I'll talk about it more with the Zion scene, but like I think my favorite thing that I've mentioned before, but I'm always kind of noticing it in new ways that a show or movie or a piece of writing can do is start taking you in one direction that you think it's going, and then take a very organic detour that feels totally realistic in hindsight, but like in the moment you just didn't see it coming. Like, you know, that she's going to do what you said. Like, you know, they're giving touching speeches and this is a cynical show. So she's going to be like, fuck you, mic drop, I'm out of here. But instead she circles back around to something like really beautiful and meaningful. And the show is capable of those kind of emotional payoffs. It just seemed preoccupied, unfortunately, with the Ratliff family. And then we haven't even talked about how the shootout scene goes down yet.
Yeah.
And then the character, like Belinda,
Or Guy
she
Todd.
has a very conflicted resolution to hers. But I think the three women get the most satisfying send off for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to talk about the shootout or Zion?
Zion, I think.
Business Zion.
Business Zion. Businessman.
What did you? So they go. Greg makes them an offer of $100,000
To start a business, which is not enough money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Belinda seems very morally against it. No matter what the number is, she's not really worried about that. She just doesn't want to go into business with a murderer. Not in business. She's not going into business. She doesn't want to accept
She doesn't want the blood money.
from a murderer. But Zion,
Duh.
who I guess is in business school, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Convinces her that he's going to negotiate with Greg.
For $1 million.
Yeah, for $1 million. Okay. I mean, you know.
Sure.
We don't know exactly how much money Greg has, but he seems like he's living pretty lavishly.
Yeah.
So they go there, and just an absolutely delightful negotiation scene ensues. I mean, what did you think? I don't want to...
No, I liked it. I just thought it was really funny. It was just like so absurd that he's like, this like kid is trying to negotiate for $5 million. And it comes out of the blue, and Belinda has like a spit take, and she like coughs on her drink because she thought it was gonna be for $1 million. It's just, and then she sticks to her guns, and then she like leaves angrily, but it's all just like part of the inside. It's like an inside job or whatever. But I mean, it's just so
playing hardball.
Yeah, it's just so. It was good. It was a breath of fresh air.
It was good for me because this is a different spin on what I was describing, where Zion comes in, he's just spouting off like business lingo 101. It sounds completely unprepared, and
no, he checked the records or whatever.
well, but no, then I feel like what we're supposed to take away from that scene is that I don't know whether he knew exactly what he was doing, but he goes in there and Greg is not taking him seriously at all, and then all of a sudden there's a switch where he does know exactly how much money Greg has, and he has checked these public records, and adults take for granted how much sleuthing people can do just with access to the internet, and he is way more equipped to actually negotiate than we think at the start of that scene.
Right.
Yeah. And like I went on that journey as a bystander, whether I'm through the eyes of Greg or just sitting in the room, I'm like, oh, this is
absurd.
Going horribly. He's going to laugh them out of the room or just dismiss them. But then I'm like, shit, no, he's actually going to win this deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just thought that was like such a perfect example of the writing where this show can take you on like an unexpected journey over the course of a couple minutes scene.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I had no idea because I was thinking about like Gary, and I was like, oh man, this kid like is in front, like, and he's like, oh, I didn't know you were gonna bring your kid here. Like, this is not, it's a business meeting. Like, why is he here?
Exactly. Yeah. Like he's immediately just turned off by his presence. And then he's turned off by the just nonsensical business lingo he's spouting off about, and then he totally
closes the deal,
turns it around.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think, since this is our recurring storyline from dating back to season 1, did we get resolution on Belinda? How do you feel about her moral compromise by the end of this?
I didn't like her leaving her love on the island.
Yeah.
And he wanted to start a business with her, and he was so excited. That's exactly where she was at the other place when she didn't have any money.
She pulled a Tanya.
I was like, this is a bummer.
I mean, that's like that is also the thesis statement of the show, is that, everyone has a price, or everyone has morals up to a point.
Yeah.
And then that point is $5 million being wired to her bank account.
But I got her whenever she said it, she's like, let me just like be rich for a second. Like, I'm tired of working hard. So, but I just wish she could have like talked to, I forgot that wonderful man's name in the show.
Porn Chai.
Yeah. I really liked him a lot. And so that was a bummer.
Yeah. And frankly, I don't actually feel like she did anything wrong, or like, I don't think it was wrong to accept the money. I mean, maybe she should still report him to the police, and then I guess she would implicate herself. And
then she would go to jail. Yeah.
It certainly is wrong, I guess, but I don't feel like she has to be that conflicted about accepting the money. And then, I mean, she's just getting fucked over time and time again by rich, privileged people, including Tanya. And then...
But then she screws over someone because she's rich.
She does, and that's what the show is supposed to make you feel bad about. Yeah. But they hung out for a week, and they slept together once, and they have no business starting, or no reason to start a business together until she gets things going and maybe needs a partner. Like, I think it's fine for her to... He didn't bring anything to the table. I mean, he was really nice to her.
No, but they're both masseuse, whatever. Like, they're
both, I'm not saying accredited. He wouldn't make a good employee number 1, but she should figure out what she wants to do first. Mm-hmm. And I think her priority was, we need to get off this island. I'm not going to get murdered. Yeah, this is not a stable situation for her or anyone.
Which is what Walter Goggins should have done.
100%, exactly. So I'm fine with where Belinda ended. I don't feel bad that she left Porn Chai for now.
Yeah.
She can always call him back up. All right, well, Rick, and Chelsea 100% should have met at the airport. A lot of people have pointed that out as well. Don't go back to the hotel. Text her.
Yeah.
Have her pack her bags.
Yeah.
And never return.
Let him be happy. Happily ever after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, what happens?
A shootout.
Yeah.
So Rick can't let it go, of course.
Nope.
And what's the old guy's name?
Jim Hollinger.
Okay, so just Jim Hollinger's bodyguards are on the look for Rick because he's, a threat to him, obviously. He notices that Jim Hollinger, he shows him that he has a gun. And so he's doing a photo op with Michelle Monaghan and the girls. And he's like, this is my chance. The bodyguards are away. I'm going to go and shoot this guy who shot my dad or killed my dad.
Yeah.
And so he runs over there and Amy Lee Wood's in the back. Like, what are you going to do? Like, don't do anything stupid. Like she's been saying the entire season. And of course he does something stupid. He runs up, shoots the guy twice, kills him. Then the bodyguards, they have a shootout. He shoots both the bodyguards, which are like, okay, well, maybe he's good. And then Guy Talk, of course, with his gun and his apparently really good shooting skills from the range, comes to save the day after Amy Lee Wood's already been shot. So he's like carrying her across the bridge. She's dying or dead. And Walter Goggins is holding her in her arms, knowing he caused all of this. And then Guy Talk shoots him and kills him, and they fall into the lily pads. So, and the robbers never even show back up. They're not even part of any of the gun shootout. Nothing happens with them. Sorry.
Yeah, we find out who they are. It's the, masseuse's crew, basically. Yeah. So it's an inside job as
we thought,
as expected, but there's no payoff there.
No.
I mean, the payoff is that Guy Talk decides not to turn them in.
And now he's a security guard for...
Yeah. He chooses violence. This is, again, every character is pushed to choose between selfish interests, career ambitions, love, or their morals and their faith.
And Guy Talk choose that.
Yeah. He chooses wrong. I mean, he could have shot him because it was the right thing to do in the moment. For the safety of other guests, even though Rick didn't really look like he was in a position to hurt anyone else. But Guy Talk could have shot him and then not accepted the job. He could have still gone about his. When
they went to the monastery, I thought he was going to be a monk. I thought he switched, but then of course that's Sam Rockwell. So
and that's not what White Lotus does. I mean,
I know.
After a coke bender and some somersaults, Sam Rockwell does go back to his grind.
He was my favorite. He was the best. He was such a fun character.
Yeah, did you know that's Leslie Bibb's husband?
Yeah, they've been together for like 18 years.
Yeah.
I looked it up after the first episode, or whatever he made his first appearance. I was like, why is he in this? Is he related, or like some type of... But yeah, they've been dating for a long time. I didn't know, which is so cool. But... Yeah,
so we talked about it at the top. Like, I just feel bad for rooting for Rick and Chelsea, which I don't think is the point. I mean, we're supposed to feel bad. The show is supposed to kind of like make us question our relationship with these bad characters and, comment on whether anyone's worth rooting for in the age of like anti-TV. Like, is this just that to the extreme? I mean, you could spin it any way you want, but I just felt like we didn't ultimately have any real reason to be rooting for them other than so that we could feel bad about the tragedy at the end.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
And the show was so cinematically beautiful and well done that in the glimpses we get of them like displaying affection or their ultimate, kind of like final pose in the water, dead together, you do feel bad. Like, it is effective, but I think that's a little bit cheap of a way to achieve that. So, I don't know. Did you find any satisfaction, not like character-wise, but just action-wise in the way that we find out that the shootings went down?
No.
Yeah. pretty
And
pretty
they don't-
contrived. The bodyguards have to just walk away.
Right, they're not doing their job, and there's two of them, so you think one would stay with him and one would go around the perimeter. I don't know, I've never been a bodyguard, but that seemed ridiculous. And then there could have just been like so many different ways to have the shootout. There are obviously like multiple different guns throughout the island that other people had at one point. And so I just wanted to be like more of like a wild card, less like, and then him dying and be like, oh, I'm your dad. I was like, this is so dumb. It just made me mad.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The wife just basically yells it, and the audience is like, duh. Yeah. But also there's no.
But also, who cares?
Yeah. It's at the same time as Amy Lou's death. And so
Yeah.
he's processing. We're supposed to be able to tell as a viewer, like, what he's thinking about.
Yeah.
Or you get some kind of payoff when these two equally horrible things have happened at the same time. I mean, it's impossible for us to process one of them with him, much less both.
So who did Zion find floating?
It could have been one of the guards.
Yeah.
'Cause they both
I
go
could've
in the
sworn
water.
It was his. I have to like rewatch that because it looked like his mom, but obviously it's not.
Yeah.
So
Zion and his mom leave safely
with a 5 mil.
and immediately as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, there just didn't seem. Again, like, if I wanted to make excuses for the show, it would be like, well, this was the obvious thing all along, and the audience shouldn't be looking for a twist. We should just be looking for, like, who's the most likely person to commit an act of violence. It was Rick the whole time.
Yeah. And who
And
do you not want to
instigate
die
all
the
of this.
most? His girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she's gonna die.
Yeah, but that's not
No.
satisfying on an emotional level or a plot twist level.
Where's the monkey with the gun?
Yeah, I mean, I get that Mike White knew what he was doing there and is just being funny and is cackling to himself that that's what people are speculating.
Yeah.
So good for him. He's definitely trolling the audience in a fun way part of the time. Mixed in with things like Carrie Coon's monologue, which resonate, I'm sure. He's very big into Buddhism himself.
Okay.
And so this whole season, I'm sure, resonated with him. And he just has a weird, dark sense of humor. So the things that he finds funny sometimes are probably like toying with the audience. I'm on board. I'm on board with all that. It just also has to like pay off. The plot just seems sloppy
Yeah. Yeah.
and secondary. So
Yeah.
and
Maybe he got distracted by his views. And he was like, you know. But
I mean, he said he wrote the whole thing in having a fever dream from like a reaction to something while he was there. So,
oh, okay.
in that sense, it's very impressive.
Yeah.
But the way you described the deaths in the other seasons, they are also very like coincidental or random.
This is intentional.
And in this season, they're not. It doesn't actually fit that mold. It could have just all been, yeah, like a monkey accidentally fires, and then it sets off this chain reaction of a shootout, and Amy Lou gets caught accidentally in the crossfire. I don't know. I mean, this just feels very avoidable.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the point, but it was unsatisfying, largely.
Yeah, I know. But I'll still watch season 4, and I'm still excited about it. I just think this was like the first 2 seasons I loved so much, so I was pretty disappointed by this 3rd one.
Yeah.
Location-wise, beautiful, gorgeous, so cool. I wish they'd also gone into town a little bit more, but that's okay.
He said that he's ready to move away from this motif of waves crashing into rocks, and most people are predicting that it's going to be a cold location next.
The Arctic.
So like a ski resort or something.
Ooh, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, because every season's basically just been a beautiful oceanside
Yeah.
villa, and the waves and the ocean imagery has been recurring. So that could definitely add some intrigue to.
They could film it at the end of the world set or whatever that
Yeah.
show was.
Well, any other highlights or lowlights to recap?
Just kind of a waste of time, but I really
I see. This is where I disagree with you.
Okay, but
Okay,
it wasn't a waste of time because I kept wanting it to get better, but then it didn't. So I'm just disappointed.
well, just because something can be awesome, I guess this is what I was thinking about. This is the last thing I'll say is scene to scene, well, moment to moment, in scene to scene. I love the show as much as ever. And you get episode to episode, or better yet, like, even zoom out further, plot to plot. Definitely not satisfying. But I don't even know. I'd have to rewatch the first 2 seasons to know. And there might have even been individual scenes in the first 2 seasons that are more self-contained and delightful in a way. I just didn't feel like the show lost a beat from a moment-to-moment, scene-to-scene standpoint. It just didn't add up in the same way. And yeah, I do agree the rat lips were kind of an anchor around the show's neck, which is a big critique. But I found every scene really compelling and well written and darkly funny, or whatever the scene was going for. I was pretty much, unless it was Tim mumbling. Yeah. I was pretty much on board with every scene.
Yeah, I wasn't. It was it just felt kind of like a chore to me. Like, I, in the past, was really excited for the next episode, would binge the series, blah, blah, blah. And this one I was like, guess I have to watch another one. Hopefully it's not an hour and a half long. And I don't like feeling that way and, like, wasting my time. My time is very precious. And I just felt like it was kind of a waste of time. Even though it was beautiful.
On to Temptation Island.
Yeah. Well, and you had to think about, like, it felt like a kind of a chore to me, although it was beautiful. I didn't care about most of the groups. So then we came to, like, the Ratliff family, or at points, like, the 3 girls, or, it was just like, who am I excited to see? Like, I'm not, Walter Goggins was just a jerk the whole time. So it was a tough watch for me. I'm glad I finished it so we could talk about it, but I don't know if I would have finished it if we didn't have this podcast.
Okay.
So. Well,
that's it for season 3 of White Lotus. I have 3. Yeah. Well, that was perfect. We almost don't even need it, but I'll play it anyway.
Almost.
I thought it had just started playing on its own.
Oh, nice.
Uncanny. Yeah. Because I was just kind of staring off into space as I do. I wasn't looking at you. That's it for season 3 of White Lotus. Maybe we'll be skiing in a couple years.
I hope so.
For season 4. Now we have a few options for our next episode. Do you have something?
I have been watching The Studio.
Okay. Yep. That was option number 1.
Okay.
I'm 3 episodes in, so I'm not going to give away any of my thoughts, but I'm going to continue watching it, and we can check in as soon as next podcast or at any point throughout the season. I'd be on board for that.
Perfect.
But for now, I do have 2 other options for us.
Ooh, okay.
Option 1. Have you heard of this?
Is this no?
Yeah, this is Michelle Williams in Dying for Sex.
Is
about
it a
woman. No, it's a show that's all out on Hulu right now.
Okay.
It's a woman that gets a cancer diagnosis and decides to...
She divorces her husband, right, to live out her, like, sexual fantasies before she dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of our greatest living actors. So, Michelle Williams.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah.
So, that's option 1.
Okay.
You hadn't heard of it? Or you have?
Well, I just described it, so I think I've heard of it.
Option 2.
Still dying for sex.
Sure. Did it switch?
Oh, no. I'm out.
This wasn't on my radar, but it's like a horror action show with Kevin Bacon, but it sounds like you're out.
It's a horror action show. I'll watch the trailer.
Okay. I wasn't going to watch this. It's called The Bondsman on Prime, but Seems to be getting decent buzz. It seems just kind of like a fun horror action show. So
It looks like Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
I mean, it's got to be intentionally referencing Evil Dead, which Tucker and Dale is referencing. But yeah, this is many layers removed, but Kevin Bacon is holding a chainsaw over his shoulder.
Huh.
So,
okay.
I don't know. I think I'll probably check out both of those since we've mentioned in the last few months that we're trying to watch things that we like and talk about them, not just volume. We can preview them first and see if we want to talk about them and just do the studio if that's our preference. Speaking of, I almost choked. If you want to if you want $5 million, then subscribe to the New Release podcast. Yeah, well, and put in your subscription note, which isn't a thing, put your bank account and routing number.
Yeah.
And did you think they were just going to steal her money?
No, because I knew she didn't have any money.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean.
Anyway, you can find a way to wire us $5 million. And if that's too much, subscribe. Oh, wait, we're going to wire you $5 million if you subscribe.
Wait a second.
By searching New Release. We don't need subscribers. If you want to send $5 million, that's
fine. We'll take it.
Then we can stop plugging this show altogether, but we'll keep doing it for the rest of our lives. So search New Release on Apple or Spotify or any other podcast platform. Search at New Release Radio on YouTube, something like that. Maybe it's just / New Release Radio. And then Instagram, if I get around to updating that. Ashley?
Yeah. That's, you have to try the theme song at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Oh!